What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is February 14th, 2025. Let's just do a quick portfolio update. Nothing has changed actually since the last video, but we'll go over the portfolio very quickly for anybody who is new to this channel. I currently have $95,432 in my dividend portfolio. At the moment, I'm holding, let's go ahead and sort it from the top. I have 1,000 shares of MSTY from YieldMax, 800 shares of NVDY from YieldMax, which is the NVIDIA Income Fund, 500 shares of AIPI from Rex Shares, 500 shares of XDTE from Roundhill, and 100 shares of AMZP from KURV ETFs. Now let's take a look at the market real quick, right? So we have a Bitcoin chart up here, and as we can see today it is green. It's up about 1%. Over the past month it's up about 2%, and year to date it is up about 4%. So Bitcoin is hanging on tight. The reason I track Bitcoin so much is not necessarily because I hold Bitcoin, but because I have such a big position in MSTY or MSTY from YieldMax, which, as you know, tracks MicroStrategy, or basically does options on MicroStrategy, and then the premium that they extract from the options is paid out to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. That is why they are able to pay such a high yield, because they are doing options on a very volatile stock, and so they're able to extract a lot of premium. And if you didn't know, MicroStrategy holds a lot of Bitcoin. They are one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin in the world, and so I like to keep up with Bitcoin and just kind of see where it's at from a day-to-day basis. As we know, Bitcoin fluctuates a lot. Crypto tends to be volatile, but they're able to capitalize off of that volatility by extracting a lot of premium out of those options. So Bitcoin is looking good, right? We know the all-time high is around 110,000 more or less. So the fact that it's still hovering right below that $100,000 mark is pretty cool. And obviously we would like to see it continue to trend up over time. So I just like to keep my eye on Bitcoin just to know exactly where these assets are in relation to the assets that I invest in as well. So the next thing we're going to look at is the S&P. So we're using SPY as a metric, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, ETF that basically tracks the S&P 500, right? The biggest 500 companies on the U.S. market. And so as we can see today, the S&P is about even, right? If we look at the 5-day chart, we can see that it is still about even. And year to date, the S&P is already up 4%. So that is good for the market. That is good, up 4% already. And we're only in February, so that is a good thing. Now, I do want to take a look at MSTY, right? We talk about MSTY a lot, but that's because MSTY has been a very, very, very consistent dividend payer. Very, very consistent, very high yield. And there's something I want to show you guys for the people who don't know, right? For the people who do know, you know, this information will not be new to you. But for the people who do not know, if you are looking to invest in high yield dividends, this is something to take a look at, right? And it's something that you should not be concerned about. You do want to be aware, but it is not a concern. And I'm going to explain exactly what I mean right now. So look at this drop, right? So as you can see on Wednesday, February 12th, the share price was around $27. Now you will see a quick drop off here the following day, right? So most people look at that and they wonder, well, why did it drop off this much? I'm going to tell you why it dropped off this much. Because what happens is when they announce their dividend and then they pay out that dividend to the shareholder, the dividend is taking out of the net asset value, right? The NAV. And so once the dividend is extracted from the net asset value, it decreases the share price. So as we can see right here, it dropped right from $27 and it dropped down to 24 and some change. But we can see as of today, it's already recovering that dividend that was extracted, right? So that is a good thing for MSTY. That means MSTY is recovering fairly quickly going into the weekend. It'll be on an uptrend. Monday, the market will be closed. Monday, the 17th, it is President's Day, so the market will be closed. But if MSTY continues to trend up for the rest of today's trading day, it'll go into the weekend on the up and up, which is good, right? And so just to further explain what I meant by this drop, so basically MSTY announced their dividend on the 12th, right? February 12th. Now, this is the declaration date, right? Now, if you want to buy this ETF and actually receive the dividend on the pay date of the 14th, we'll just use this month as an example. This is the declaration date, right? This is the X date. You need to buy it prior to the X date in order to receive the payment this month. If you buy it on the X date or after the X date, you will not receive a dividend payment until the following month. So just keep that in mind. You have to purchase these ETFs or any stock prior to the X date, because the X date is when the yield is actually extracted from the stock. As you can see, the X date was the 13th, and we can see here on the 13th is when it dropped, right? So the X date is the day where the dividend is basically extracted from the share price. And so you will naturally see this decline. But again, you can see it began to trend up again. And so if we go on the 1-day chart, we can see that it is recovering fairly quickly, which is a good sign. So again, MSTY paid $2.02 today, February 14th, 2025, which is a crazy, crazy yield, right? It's still around 100%, a little bit above 100%. And so basically I received a little bit over $2,000 today in dividends from MSTY because I have 1,000 shares. And so again, I just wanted to explain to you guys exactly what this drop is. Again, if you've been investing in these or you've been investing in dividend stocks in general, you already know this information, or you should. Maybe you don't, but you should know this information. But if you are new to this, this may even be a time where you can jump in and begin a new position, right? So if you come across one of these ETFs, let's say you come across it around here and you're waiting, and then you see the X dividend date is coming up, right? It may be a good time to just let this month pass you by, allow the dividend to be extracted, and then you could start your position down here and then just ride the wave up on the recovery. So that can be a strategy. That can also be a strategy if you already have shares and you want to dollar cost average and accumulate more shares. So that's just some information that may be useful to you. But we're gonna move on to the next one. So the next one I want to look at is XDTE. Now, my favorite thing about XDTE is how stable the share price is, right? There's not a huge variance. Even when we look at the chart since inception, since March of 2024, so it's coming up on a year, right? As far as how long this ETF has been out. And as you can see, yes, the chart is red. It is down 3%, but they do pay weekly dividends. And you can see that the price does not fluctuate much, right? You can see here on the chart, the price does not fluctuate much. So it stays around that $50 range and it pays weekly dividends. Like this week, today, February 14th, it paid out 23 cents a share. And if you look at the history, you can see every single week it pays out a distribution every single Friday. So this can be a way where you can really accelerate your portfolio and really get that snowball rolling, so that you continue to accumulate those dividends and build that monthly cash flow into your portfolio, right? So the next one we're going to look at is AMZP. Now this is an Amazon option income ETF from KURV ETFs. Now I want to make a separate video about KURV ETFs again. I made one a couple months ago, but now that I'm actually invested into it, I want to make a newer video because now I have more information and I have a bit more insight as to how these actually operate and how they're actually able to capture growth as well, right? As you can see, over the past year, it is up 7%, and all time it is up 23%, and the entire time it's also paying a nice dividend, right? So we can see yesterday, actually February 13th, they paid out 65 cents per share, AMZP, right? It is a Amazon option income ETF, and so at the moment it's around a 26% annualized dividend. But again, I'm going to make another video on KURV ETFs again, just to show you guys exactly what they have going on over there, because they have an entire suite of ETFs, not as many as YieldMax or Roundhill. I feel like they're a bit more concise and a bit more strategic about the ETFs that they decide to create, and all of them tend to capture growth. So not only are they paying you that monthly dividend, but they're also capturing growth. And recently they've also switched their payment dates so that now each ETF is staggered. So if you own an ETF from each group, you can technically get paid every single week from KURV ETFs. But again, I'm going to go more in depth in that in another video. But yeah, that's AMZP, again, based off of Amazon. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is this dividend chart, right? So a couple videos ago, I showed you guys a chart from 2024 of all of the dividends that I received. In 2024, I did receive a little over $30,000 in dividends in total. And basically what happened is, in the beginning of the year in 2024, my strategy was a lot more different. I was more invested into growth stocks, and then naturally, as time progressed, I started implementing more of the high yield dividend strategy in order to capture that income so that I can get some cash flow into my portfolio, so that in the future I can actually be able to use that money to pay for my expenses. So as of now, February 14th, 2025, you can see here in the blue, in January, I received a little over $4,400 in dividends. And so far in the month of February, I've already received $2,200 in dividends. And it'll be more than this because I still have AIPI that needs to pay out. I still have MVDY that needs to pay out. And I also have a couple more XDTE payments because they do pay on a weekly basis. And so I expect this dividend income to be over $4,000 again, just like the previous month. Now, if you look at these yellow bars, this is just an average projected income based off of what I've received already. But again, I expect this to be higher because again, this is just an average based off of what I've received, which of course I'm still going to receive more this month, which will increase this average amount. And then as time progresses, this chart will adjust itself based on what I received that given month. And so again, I don't know if you guys have seen my previous videos, but I mentioned that by the end of this year, I would like to be at $10,000 a month in dividends. Now, the way I plan on accomplishing that is by reinvesting all these dividends and also contributing money to my brokerage account, right? So every 2 weeks when I get a check from work, I'm going to contribute money into this portfolio. I've also tapped into a small percentage of margin in my portfolio, and I'm also reinvesting these dividends. So I think every video I'm going to give you guys an update as I receive dividends and give you an updated chart just so you can kind of see where I'm at. And I think it'll be cool to kind of follow along my journey. Hopefully it gives you some motivation and maybe some ideas on how to track your own income. And another important thing is that it holds myself accountable, because now I'm showing you guys, so now I got to hold myself to it, right? So I'm going to continue to reinvest my dividends, contribute money into my brokerage account, and I'm going to keep you guys updated along the way. So again, in the comments, you guys let me know, what are your goals as far as income? Where are you at right now? How much income are you receiving on average right now as far as dividends go? What are your favorite holdings? And what is your goal right here, right? December 2025, where do you plan on being at as far as monthly income? You guys let me know in the comments. Again, always appreciative of everybody who stops by my channel. We are now at 1,300 subscribers. Always appreciative again, right? So I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and I will check you out in the next video.